Hello, this is Leisha Breen with Journey to Greatness, 365 days to your best year yet. And today I want to talk about thinking for yourself. This, yes, is a reoccurring theme in my podcast because it's critical. If we don't think for ourselves, then we're vulnerable to having someone else do the thinking for us. And this is where we get taken in by salespeople. This is where we get taken advantage of by other individuals that have possibly corrupt intent. And that's extreme, but it can be on a range anywhere from just a child getting an extra candy bar to somebody stealing your money, or worse yet. We have to think for ourselves, and sometimes we can get so lazy that we want someone else to do the thinking for us, or we're so scared to take a risk that it's easier to back off and give somebody else the wheel of our vehicle called our life. Don't let that be you. And even if you're here listening to this podcast, sometimes I'll get criticism saying, well, you're giving all this advice, Leisha. You are trying to think for other people. I would never, ever want to take the wheel of this vehicle called your life, ever. I'm merely a channel for information that I have utilized in my own life that I think is amazing information. The information that I share is tools that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation from some of our greatest philosophers. And the tools that I share have been proven to be very positive vehicles for hundreds of thousands of people if they utilize them on a regular and consistent basis. Now, there is no one size fits all for any human being because, as I've said many times, we're very unique, each one of us. So the suggestions that I offer, although they may work for hundreds and thousands of people, well, they may not work for you. But that's where responsibility comes in. It's your responsibility to decide whether or not the tools I'm providing work for you. That's part of being an adult. That's part of taking responsibility for your life. If we don't think for ourselves, if we don't question the information that we're getting, then we will be victims of manipulation. Buddha once said, I want to share this with you, that we should believe nothing because a wise man said it, believe nothing because it is generally held, believe nothing because it is written, believe nothing because it is said to be divine, believe nothing because someone else believes it, but believe only what you yourself judge to be true. And this is where I stand. Right here is I have a mentor that I work with. I don't always agree with what he has to say. Sometimes he's a younger person, not real young, but a younger person. He often marginalizes people that are older. And I'm older. So I don't like it when he does that because he pigeonholes me he compartmentalizes me, not intentionally, but he basically says that when you're older, you have less time and you are maybe not as up to date on certain skills technologically as a younger person. So if you're younger, make sure you're taking advantage of everything you can in life right now because you won't be able to do it. Age catches up with you and so on and so forth. And it's not that there isn't truth into what he's saying regarding the person specifically, but I don't allow myself to be disappointed or discouraged or held back by his philosophy about age. On a lot of levels, every information that he shares is fantastic. So I choose to listen to what's good and I let the rest go, as hard as that can be sometimes. But there's an example of me judging for myself what's right for me. I still listen to my mentor. I still listen to him daily. I work with him on a regular basis. We all should have a mentor or coach in our life. But he allows me and everyone in our tribe to think for themselves. So he encourages that, and that's where I consider him to be a very good teacher. He allows others to think for themselves. So in addition to thinking for yourself and learning to recognize when you are not, you must allow others to think for themselves and recognize when you're trying to think for them. And it is so easy to sometimes believe that you know best. And I found myself in that position as a parent. I have a grown daughter, she's a young, very successful businesswoman, very beautiful girl. And she was coming to me with some questions, marital questions. And I found myself telling her what I thought she needed to do and telling her what I thought was right for her, when in fact, telling her was not the right way to handle it. And I had to back off really quick. I had to let go and allow her to think through her concerns and come up with her own answers by thinking for herself. As parents, we need to teach our children how to think for themselves. If we constantly tell our children how to think, what to do, when to do it, then that ability to think for themselves is not developed. And we run the risk of our children growing up and constantly looking for others to tell them how to be, who to be, and they never develop that ability to think things through, use their critical thinking skills. Now, my daughter fortunately went to law school and has learned critical thinking, but she still comes to mom when she has a problem. So I had to learn as a parent at this old age to back off and say, no, what do you think? How do you think you can solve this problem? And if we're parents, we need to do that. We need to give our children that room to make mistakes and grow from them. And as an employer with employees, I've also learned to do that, where I will give my associates room to make mistakes. And trust me, they'll make them, but they also become, if they're willing to be a good associate, they also have grown from those mistakes because they have a good work ethic. And they've appreciated the fact that I haven't been micromanaging them. I think a mistake that a lot of managers make, or people that are in positions of being supervisors, is that we will micromanage people to the point where they become robots. And if in today's society, in today's businesses, we have to be a lot more entrepreneurial in our approach. We can't be fixed and frozen when it comes to our achievement, when we're dealing with sales, when we're dealing with having to drive revenue. We have to be creative. And that means we have to allow our teams the room to be creative, the room to be entrepreneurial. And that means, my friends, that we have to allow our associates or those who are working under us, we have to allow ourselves to be creative thinkers. We have to think for ourselves. And we have to be willing to make mistakes along the way and allow others to do the same. Of course, we don't want anyone to be making such a mistake that they're going to be destroying themselves or destroying those around them. We want to help guide someone if they're in that position. But most of the time, that's not what we're looking at when we're talking about thinking for yourself. There's only one person who truly knows your circumstance, your situation. It's you. And others can help guide you through whatever your situation may be. They can give you pointers. They can give you tools to work with. But the final decision has to be yours. And that's scary. I know that's scary sometimes, because then, that means we're responsible. So a lot of people find themselves coasting in life, letting everybody else do the thinking so that they don't have to think. And then they can blame somebody else when things don't turn out right. But here's the sad thing about that mentality is you come to the end of your life and you've maybe lived half a life or less because you've given away your personal power. It's when we embrace our power that we truly live. And some of us find that out later in life. So I encourage you to think for yourself and start doing that today. One other thing I want to touch on when it comes to thinking for yourself is when you think for yourself, you develop sales resistance. And there's a lot of reasons why people want to think for you. Sometimes people are well-intentioned, like I was with my daughter, though I was misguided. Other times, people's motives are very self-serving, and you know that on the surface, but sometimes we get so caught up with a teacher or a leader or a supervisor that we lose sight of what's going on. But regardless of the intent, whenever someone tries to think for you, that person is in effect trying to sell you something, and we're all trying to sell something, and this is all in degrees, but this is why you have to become aware. That something that they're trying to sell could be a toothbrush, a political ideology, or a relationship, or a ticket to heaven. But whatever the product is, this salesperson's job is made easier when you unthinkingly accept his or her beliefs. His or her efforts are further helped by the conditioning that causes you to look outside yourself for answers. The salesperson often preys upon your ignorance, on your fears, and on your guilt. This person may not be above threatening you with everything from halitosis to hellfire in order to sell you a product. So, in addition to everything we've just talked about, you have to become aware. You have to recognize when someone is trying to sell you a bill of goods. When someone is trying to think for you, you have to develop sales resistance. And you do that by, at least internally, challenging what you're being told to be quote unquote true. And then again, you have to be responsible and decide for yourself by thinking for yourself what is true and what is not. So I hope I've given you something to think about today. And as always, we want to go ahead and do our mindfulness meditation. And that is a process that's going to help you build that think for yourself muscle. So let's sit up straight in a dignified fashion. And let's get ready for our mini mindfulness meditation. Okay, are you ready? So sit up nice and straight. I hope you're comfortable. Today we are going to imagine that we are walking along a river. This is called the river reflection. As we begin, close your eyes and let's take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and release through the mouth. So let's go ahead. Deep breath in and release. Deep breath in and release. Deep breath in and release. As you continue breathing, I want you to imagine that you are walking along a river. Think about what that river looks like. Is it a big river or a small river? Is the river moving slowly or quickly? What is next to the river? Try to think about what this river really looks like. Now I want you to focus on what it feels like. Is the air warm or cool? Is it windy? How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel calm? Does it make you feel happy or something else? Is there anyone there with you? Or are you by yourself? Really think about everything as in this scene, and try to notice everything you can. When you are finished, take a deep breath in through your nose and release through your mouth. We're going to do this 3 times. Deep breath in and release. Deep breath in and release. Deep breath in and release. Now you can slowly open your eyes. Well, I hope I've given you something to think about today. Really and truly, it's so important that you think for yourself, that you don't allow others to do the thinking for you. It's when we give away our personal power, when we give away our power to somebody else to do the thinking, that we're truly not being our authentic self. We're not living at that point. We're letting someone else live for us. Don't let that be you. You are a unique, extraordinary individual. And this world needs what you have to share. You can't share your gifts if you're running on autopilot and allowing someone else to do the thinking for you. Be bold, be brave, and always, always be your authentic self. Until we meet again, bye for now.